Did you know that you can watch YouTube and play games on your PlayStation 5 at the same time? Or that you can use your DualSense controller wirelessly on an iPad or gaming PC? Yeah! Get ready to know these and many other little-known secrets, tips, and curiosities when we show you the most awesome 20 secrets of the PlayStation 5.
Super players.
One of the things I like the most about the PS5 is its ability to multitask, but some of these features are super hidden. I bet you didn't know that you can watch YouTube while playing on your console. That's right. If you send a message to a friend with the address www.google.com, you can click on it and access the PS5's secret browser. There, you can search practically any page, including YouTube. Once inside, you can search for the video you want to see and do what is known as a pin, where you choose on which side of the screen you want the browser to be seen. You can start playing, and you will see that your video continues to play perfectly. A good tip if you are following a video guide or just waiting for the players lobby to fill up. Have you ever wondered how much time you are spending playing video games? Well, the PS5 allows you to keep track of this. If you go to your profile and then select the option Games, you can see how much time you are dedicating to each particular title. And not only for PS5 games, but also for PS4 games. It is always interesting for me to see these statistics. There are games that I thought I only played for a little bit. Then I go to my stats and say, oh man. Although the PS5 does not have some Xbox functionalities, like Quick Resume, which allows you to resume between several different games in just a matter of seconds, there is a little trick that helps you start playing a little faster. If, instead of launching your game as you do regularly, you use an activity card, you will be able to start your game in a more agile way. In games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, this option allows you to skip the Ubisoft logo and the part where you select your game save. That way you can fast forward around 10 seconds of loading time. It varies from game to game, but it is a good option to keep an eye on to play without wasting much time. And speaking of saving a couple of seconds, if you want to get to this bar where the search, configuration, and profile options are, you just have to press the triangle button and the cursor will be placed there no matter where you are on the screen. It also works in the PlayStation Store and is a little tip to move more quickly between the menus. Does it bother you to have to change the same options in each game separately? One of the coolest things about the PS5 is that it allows you to configure default options for all games. For example, I like to play with my aim inverted, but most games don't come with that option activated by default. That's where the PlayStation presets come in. If you go to Settings, then to Saved Data and Game App Settings, you can select the default game settings option. There, you can set things like the difficulty that you always want to be selected by default, if you prefer the performance mode or the resolution mode, adjust the camera movements for the first or third person view, and even a subtitles and audio options for all your games to choose from. It's well known that Sony exclusives tend to have very good stories, but they are worth nothing if your friends keep spoiling you with the captures that they upload to PlayStation. However, many people are unaware that for PlayStation 5 games, an option can be enabled to warn you of game spoilers. And, in fact, it works in a pretty clever way. The console looks at where your progress is going and compares it to the progress that your friend uploaded in his capture. If this capture shows any information that could be considered a spoiler, the console will warn you to prevent your friend capture from spoiling you the game story. A super interesting and practical little detail. Yes, you can play PS5 games on 4K resolution. However, no one will believe it if all the video captures you take are capped at 1080p. You can change this if you go to Settings, Captures and Broadcasts, Captures, and then to Video Clip format. There, you can select the file type, enable 4K resolution, and even include the audio from your microphone or voice chat. This generation, the PlayStation mobile application is much better. Last generation, there were several apps to do different things like play remotely or talk with your friends. But now, they have centralized everything, changed the graphical interface, and, in short, made the app very useful. One of the most practical things you can do with it is to manage the storage of your console, as long as it is in sleep mode. You can see everything you have installed, how much space each thing occupies, and install or uninstall games without having to turn on your console. Many people do not know that, apart from taking screenshots with your PlayStation 5, you can also edit them from the console. It is not a super powerful editor like Photoshop, but at least you can do things like crop and add text, change the color and text position, and in short, make it a little more attractive before sharing it with your friends. Using NVMe storage that meets the requirements of the PS5, you can expand the amount of storage on your console by installing a new device inside. This will allow you to install and run PS5 games perfectly. But since these devices can be a bit pricey and PS4 games don't really require these speeds, it's best to use slower and cheaper external storage like a mechanical hard drive or some SSD, specifically for PS4 games. And in fact, few people know that there is a dedicated option for that. If you go to Settings, Storage, and then USB Extended Storage, you can select an option that causes all PS4 games to install on slow storage, leaving fast storage for PS5 games that can take advantage of it. If you want to send a quick text message, but you are too lazy to write it using the on-screen keyboard, the console will write the text for you. Specifically in the PS5, this is a super practical option, since the DualSense has an integrated microphone, and therefore it is very easy to talk to it and see how your words magically become text. Very cool, huh? The DualSense is a wonderful controller that does so many epic things. However, the downside of having so much technology built within the controller is that it can consume more energy and therefore the battery life is not so good. But you can do a few things to remedy that. For example, make it turn off automatically after a certain amount of time, lower the intensity of the haptic triggers and vibration, and even change how bright your controller light is. With these settings, you can get more out of your DualSense battery. Maybe you know that you can choose between turning off your PS5 normally or putting it in sleep mode, right? But did you know that there are several sleep modes? When setting up the console for the first time, you will see a mode called Optimized Experience that allows you to download game updates while the console is in sleep mode and do other things like connect remotely. Then there is the low power usage, where the console will only consume between 0.1 to 0.5 watts in rest mode. And finally, the customized mode that allows you to select which options to activate or deactivate. There, you will see things like how long the USB ports last activated after turning off the console, or if you want it to stay connected to the internet. In short, there are many options to keep the electricity consumption of your PlayStation 5 under control. If you just bought a PS5, but you still have your PS4 laying around, you can make a network data transfer so you don't have to download all the PS4 games to the PS5 from the internet again. Head to Settings, System Software, Data Transfer, and then transfer data from your PS4. Both your PS4 and PS5 must have their operating systems updated and be connected to the same Wi-Fi network, or preferably a wired network that is much faster and more stable. This way you can transfer all your PS4 games to your PS5. Turning on the PS5 with the DualSense is very cool, but it stops being fun when you have to use another remote to turn on the TV. This is precisely why the PS5 allows you to activate what is known as HDMI device link. That way, when your console turns on, it can turn on other devices connected to the console. It also goes the other way around. You can configure that when you turn off your TV or device, the PS5 goes to rest mode automatically. Another pretty handy trick. The PS5 has a storage capacity of 825 gigabytes, but only around 667 GBs can be used, since the rest is occupied by the operating system. Therefore, you better be smart about how you use this space. Something very practical that you can do about it is to manage the recording of trophy videos. By default, every time you get one, the PS5 makes a recording of your accomplishment. But luckily, you can choose to do it only with platinum trophies, and you can even change the length of this video. However, our advice to save the most storage space is to simply deactivate this option and just use the capture button when needed. The DualSense connects to the PlayStation 5 using Bluetooth, and yet it always asks you for a cable to do its pairing. But did you know that if you press these two buttons at the same time, you can make your DualSense go into pairing mode? And the coolest thing of all is that the DualSense not only works with the PS5, you can perfectly use your DualSense on a computer, iOS devices, Android, on a Mac, on Apple TV, on an Amazon Fire TV, and in a lot of things. So yes, the DualSense is not just a good controller, it's also very compatible with other devices. Yes, the DualSense has an integrated microphone. And yes, it kinda makes you look and sound a bit silly. But at least it allows you to communicate with your friends without the need for headphones. Luckily, there's a dedicated button on the controller to mute this mic. Many people do not know that if you keep this button pressed for a few seconds, it will not only mute the microphone, but also the console. That way you can make your console stop emitting sounds without using the remote of your TV. If you want to play with your PlayStation 5, but the TV is being used by somebody else in your household, you can use the Remote Play function. To use it, you just have to download the Remote Play app on your device. And from there, you can control your PS5 from anywhere in the house that has access to the network of your console. Devices that support this feature are Windows or Mac computers, Android or iOS devices, and even a PS4. It can be done using Wi-Fi, but obviously it works better if your device is connected to the PS5 by a network cable. Obviously, there will be a bit of latency, but it is a good workaround for games that are not so competitive while the TV is not available. And to conclude this video, one of the most interesting functions that the PS5 has is the option to take the audio from the voice chat and convert it into text. This was designed as an accessibility option so that people who have hearing problems can better interact with the other players. But even if you can listen without problems, it is also a good alternative when you are not in the mood to listen to other people but still want to have an idea of what they are talking about. This is not supported by all games, but the games that do support it gives more inclusion options to other super players who may have some particular physical limitations but are equal to or better gamers than the rest of us. For all of them, we dedicate this awesome video on 20 secrets of the PlayStation 5.
Super player.